All right, we are rounding today, right? Rounding is not hard at all. You just got to follow a few simple rules. So the first thing you need to know when you round is what you're rounding to, okay? It might tell you round to the nearest thousands place, round to the nearest hundreds place. You have to pay attention to where they're telling you to round to because you're going to get different numbers depending on where it says and what place value. So here, as you can tell, I have the exact same number, 32,762, and I'm going to round it to two different place values. Let's pretend the first time our homework asked us to round it to the hundreds place, okay? So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to underline what place it told me to round to, okay? So I'm going to underline my hundreds place. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to look very, very closely at the number right beside it, just to its right side over here, okay? So I put a 0 reminder around it to remind me that when I'm done, this and everything over becomes a 0, okay? Now to remind me to look very closely, sometimes we like to put our magnifying glass here. I gotta look very closely at that number, okay? So this 6, is it 5 or more or 4 or less, okay? 6 is more than 5, so if this is more than 5, it is going to bump this number up to the next number. Okay, if it's not more than 5, it's just going to leave it alone. But since 6 is bigger than 5, it changes this number to 1 bigger. Okay, so 7 is going to turn into an 8. Now, everything before this number stays the same. You have to add those to it. Okay, this number may change. And then what does everything over here happen? Everything over here changes into a 0. That's why you have your 0 reminder. Now, don't leave any numbers out, okay? So if I am rounding this number to the hundreds place, okay, I'm gonna get 32,800. But now let's say I wanna round it to the nearest 10,000s place, okay? So the number in the 10,000s place is right there, the 3. We're gonna underline that, okay? That means we're gonna look very closely right there at that number. So again, if we want to make it a magnifying glass, we can. Okay, we're gonna look very closely at that number. And we're gonna put a 0 reminder around it to remind us that everything after it is going to turn into a 0, including that number. So is 2 big enough to change that 3? It's not big enough, is it? So it's going to stay exactly the same as what it is. Make that a 3. Now, everything after that, that's right, it reminded you, right? Becomes a 0. Make sure you have the same amount of digits as when you started, all right? So this exact same number, if we were to round it to the nearest 10,000s place, now becomes 30,000. Two different numbers depending on what place you round it to. So really make sure that you're paying attention to where you're supposed to go, all right? Enjoy these.